Welcome to Season 2 of the SOAR podcast, the place for creative entrepreneurs who want to build healthier, happier, more profitable self-employed businesses. I'm your host, Ray Hyde Cornell, business mentor at Chiron Consulting and CEO and senior copywriter at Cornell Content Marketing. Get ready to soar. Welcome to the SOAR podcast. Today, we have with us a good friend of mine and fellow co-author of Corporate Dropouts, Patricia Lindner. Patricia, tell everybody about your business. Tell us what you do.
Hey, Ray. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. So my name is Patricia Lindner, as you already said, and I'm a multi-passionate soul and career alchemist and a mindset magician and a teacher. And I invite open-minded, accomplished, spiritually open and empathic women on a journey of growth, where they learn how to get to the next level, both in their private as well as their career life, so that they really can live this fulfilled and aligned life, and that they no longer feel like held back or shackled to their area where they just are comfortably numb.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's more or less it.
I love this because this is something that I think I tend to get on my soapbox a lot about, where I say, your business should be in support of you. Our purpose here is not to work and to grind and to, be miserable just to get a paycheck and then retire when we're 64 and a half or whatever it might be. That's not the point of life. The business that you're building as an entrepreneur, it should support the life that you want. And so you're really helping people make that happen. So, but you used a few words there that I think are kind of like fun and whimsical. And at the same time, I'm just like super curious. So you said that you're a mindset magician and an alchemist. Tell me, like, what does that mean? How does that show up when you actually work with your clients?
I really love to talk about this because that's so true. Oftentimes people, they ask me, what are those weird words that you use? But I totally thought about why I want to use those words. And so I call myself alchemist because I feel like I'm not this run-of-the-mill coach. I offer white glove service that is highly tailored and highly customized. And so I thought of an alchemist who mixes those liquids in a laboratory so that you really mix the version of something that totally aligns, that totally is the thing that benefits a person. And so my service is not like a cookie cutter approach where I do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But when people come to me, they get what they need.
Yeah.
And that's why I call myself the alchemist.
And I also think of change, like when I hear the word alchemist, I think of someone who changes, transmutes, transforms, takes one thing and, it's kind of like, I'm thinking very like fantasy world now, but it's like if you find a brick of lead and you somehow transform it into gold, that's kind of what I think of with the alchemist. And it sounds like that's really what you try to do with your clients, is they're locked in this one way of thinking and running their businesses and their lives. And your goal, your job is to help them change that, take everything that they have and transmute it into something that they're just super in love with and proud of.
Totally. And so I really see the gems inside of them that seem to be hidden. And so I like that you said turning lead into gold, because exactly this is the approach.
So,
and you wanted to know about the magician, and
yes.
I love this I love this magic and magician and mindset magician, because I have a lot of tools that are really magic. They are energy psychology tools that very rapidly and sustainably help people get rid of their blockages in a way that doesn't hurt, that doesn't traumatize them,
Yeah.
that doesn't feel awkward. And so I think it is so much magic in this work,
Mm.
which I did for myself, and now I offer it to the clients.
And that's the thing. And, I'll be the first one to admit there are a lot of problems with the world of therapy. Like, I come from a psychology background. I was in that
Yeah.
world for years and years and years. And the problem there is, as much as we like to think that when we're running our business, we're very pragmatic and logical, and we're savvy businessmen and businesswomen, but really there's a lot of mindset, there's a lot of old beliefs, there's a lot of old ways of thinking, thought patterns, and limitations that are put on us from our culture, our religion, our families. And if you go the therapy route to try to get through these blocks and, get rid of this programming that your parents instilled in you, what ends up happening is you dwell in that past, and you just ruminate, and you process and you reprocess. That, in my experience, doesn't really do anyone any good. But what you're saying is, instead of them having to go through that, and you mentioned, it doesn't hurt, which therapy can really hurt. That can really be uncomfortable, and tears, and just re-traumatizing, and all of that. It sounds like you are, tell me about this. How have you figured out a way to help people get through those blocks and those mindset issues without ruminating in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, so first of all, I totally agree with what you said, because it is so crucial to not be driven by your past.
Yeah.
You really need to create this version of who you want to be. And as soon as you dig into the past all the time, then where your attention goes, all the energy flows, and you just create more of what you already have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess this was like 8 years ago. I discovered a method called logosynthesis, which is something that lots of people don't know about. And I studied this for a couple of years with a psychologist who introduced me to this amazing, I call it system. It is really getting rid of those patterns just by simply using the power of the word. And getting these memories, those old patterns, or whatever is blocking you out of your energetic system within minutes. And then it is gone. Then you still remember, okay, yes, this is part of my story, but there is no blockage anymore. And oftentimes you can't always know what is blocking you, because there are so many things that lay in the dark.
Yeah.
You don't have to know what is blocking you. You just connect with the emotion, and maybe you come up with a picture, and then you can solve this easily and sustainably. And this is the magic.
So I want to dig more into this, because I feel like this goes against everything that our analytical minds want to think and believe. We think, oh, okay, in order to solve this problem, I need to identify it and then analyze it and then problem solve and then overcome it and work and work and work and figure out a way around this issue. But what you're saying, I mean, if I heard you correctly, you said you don't even need to really be aware of what the problem is that's blocking you. You just need to go through this process and using a word. So kind of give me an example. If we were to talk about, let's say I'm someone who has money blocks, money mindset blocks, and the word that kind of gets me a little prickly is money or wealth or finances. What would we do? Like, how does this process work? What does it look like?
Okay, so money is a great example, and just excuse me if I take an example out of my practice, because this is a beautiful, beautiful example. And it's not about one word. It could be one word that really brings something that makes you feel anxious. But I had an amazing client, and she was earning a lot of money already. But whenever she earned more than this level this certain level of money, she always felt guilt, a lot of guilt, shame. And she said, Patricia, I can't overcome this level of income, because when I feel like dirty. So she really, it was hard for her. And then she says, I don't know where this comes from. It could be from my parents. And then we went in this short meditation, and then she came up with a picture of her standing in a tunnel that was a glass tunnel, and the glass was covered with charcoal. I don't know what it is. She doesn't know what it is, but this was so perfect for the work that I did. And that we did. And so I took this picture, we connected it with all the emotions that came up. And so she really felt guilty and dirty and everything. And she was at a high level of guilt. So I always let them scale between 0 and 10, and 10 is the highest. And she said it's like 11. Wow. I feel like stuck in this tunnel of charcoal. And then I used this picture that represented a story, and I don't know what story it was. And she went through this logosynthesis process that is 3 sentences just with this picture, and it is taken out of her system, and she's getting back all the energy that was lost somewhere in her life. And then after just a couple of minutes, I asked her, what is now? What is going on now? And then she had her eyes closed, and she said, no, this is strange. What did we do? Now there is still charcoal, but it changed. I can see the glass. I can see a little bit of glass, and it changed. And so the situation changed. And in the end, the glass was really reflecting her beauty, and everything was lit up. And she could cross this limitation. And so I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what this limitation was about. This was a good example for not going into harmful, horrible stories.
Yeah.
But taking a picture.
And that's the thing, is when you have to repeat those stories over and over again, what you're doing is you're rewiring, you're refiring and rewiring that story. You're making it have a presence in your present day reality, as opposed to if we were to say, you know what, I know there's some bad shit that happened in my past, and I'm not even going to talk about it because that's back then. I don't really want to bring it into the present. I don't want to give it new life. I don't want to put more energy into it. And so I love that you're able to do this without making people kind of dredge up those painful memories. And then you said 3 sentences. There were 3 sentences that, did you say them to her, or does she say them, or how does that work? What is the logosynthesis process?
I just say them out aloud, just a piece of or a part of the sentence, and then the client repeats this part aloud. And most of the time they have their eyes closed, because this is giving them this opportunity to really tune into their internal world. And after each sentence, there's a little bit of a pause, and they just give me a sign, they nod, or they say, and then it goes on with the second sentence. So the first is retrieving all the energy that is bound up in a certain picture, memory. The second one is just getting rid of the energy that is not hers or his. And then the last one is about all the reactions that are stored in the energetic system. And so it is magic. And I was so doubtful before I was trained as a logosynthesis practitioner and instructor. I was so doubtful, because that's the way I am. And whenever I come across a new method, I need to really check it out intensely. Yeah. And so I was so surprised that it really worked well, and that there is this scientific aspect. So there are studies about this, and even doctors in Switzerland use it for psychiatric treatments.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of kind of like a hypnosis state where someone is more impressionable. And of course, some people can use that impressionability to do like kind of manipulative things like, okay, walk around and cluck like a duck or whatever. But you can also use that impressionability to impress good things and positive associations. But it doesn't sound like are you getting them into a hypnotic state, or does this all happen kind of in the logical, just, if we were to do this right now in the state that I'm in, talking with you, very aware. And so it has nothing to do with hypnosis.
No, you're very aware. But so I love that you mentioned this, because I feel this process, and that's why I'm so full of doubt whenever I come across any of those tools. I combine lots of things, and oftentimes I add this aspect that you just mentioned, that people, they envision their very best future, so they can disconnect from the past, so that they break this default circuit, and that they no longer create from this connectedness to their past, but they can envision something that they intend and can connect it with a positive outcome, so that they are really energetically attracted to their goal, intention, outcome, very best future.
So it sounds like the logosynthesis process, I mean, it's like music to my ears, because it sounds like it's partly psychology and really releasing the bonds that we associate with traumatic memories and limiting beliefs. But then it's also energetic work, which I just love that whole world, and I'm super woo-woo and all of that. But it's really marrying the psychological principles and the science that says this works and this is how it works and this is why it works, but also the energetic side of things that I feel like doesn't get enough attention nowadays. I mean, there's more attention now on it than there was 20 years ago, but still we have a lot more to understand about our energetic bodies and the way that energy impacts us and all of that. So you're kind of combining the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and this is demystifying the mystical, because I think the mystical is science, because it's all about energy. And I am so glad that we are more open to that, and that people really are more aware and more interested in ways like this, that this is the new way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really starts with people understanding and being aware of all of the things that are actually limiting them, so that they can start to tap into the energy that is actually being sucked up by these limitations, and starting to free that and get that back. And so we're going to take a super quick commercial break, but I want to talk to you more about these common limitations that people have when we come back.
Hey, Ray here. Let's talk money. Money is universal. It's the conduit for exchanging energy between people and business entities, which are really just more people. It's how we build the lives we want, and it's how we can make an impact for the better. As a good friend of mine likes to say, good money in the hands of good people can do good things. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with money, you're inevitably going to run into trouble. Whether you're struggling with your pricing, or you're not sure where the money you work so hard for is vanishing off to, or you just want to have an easier time of attracting in money like a magnet, you will find everything you need to transform your money mindset and manifest the wealth you want inside of my course, Money Mindset Mastery. Plus, as an added bonus, you'll also get access to my most popular barrier-busting workshop, Price Yourself Perfectly. Learn more at chironconsulting.us/money mindset. That's all one word, money mindset. Go to chironconsulting.us/money mindset.
So we are back with Patricia Lindner. So Patricia, some of the limiting circumstances that I think a lot of people deal with, you've already touched on some of them. One of the things that you said was people tend to get comfortably numb. That's a powerful phrase. And it's one of those things that when you hear that, you go, oh shit, is that me? Am I doing that? Am I kind of numbing out? So talk to me about this comfortably numb is epidemic that tends to happen in the entrepreneurial world. And how does someone identify if they are falling into that comfortably numb trap?
Okay, so I think this is a comfort zone that most of all of the people are in, and they are comfortably numb because they are so afraid of what is outside of this comfort zone. And oftentimes there is this feeling of not being fulfilled, not being aligned, and then maybe they dare to step outside of this comfort zone, which is a creation out of experiences, out of conditioning, out of what they think is the truth. And if I think about it as a picture, it is like stepping out of a circle, and then something happens and an invisible rubber band pulls them back into this comfort zone, and they tell themselves or others, see, I meant to stay in this comfort zone because I can't have more money, I can't have more fulfillment, I can't have a better relationship, I can't do this. I guess I should stay in this comfort zone. And I guess there is much more. There is this zone of genius that is awaiting us in this big field that we can tap into, but we have to really know that those limitations, they come most of the time from our past. And as we try to escape this zone, maybe once, twice, 3 times, and we see, okay, that's so hard. See, I lost all the money. See, that was not a success. Then we go into this zone again, because this is sort of our barometer of what is allowed, of what is true for us. And we become addicted to being in this comfort zone because this defines who we are. And so whenever we look into the mirror and see, hello, that's you with this income ceiling, with this relationship issue. How could I know you if I were not in this comfort zone? And so I think it is so crucial to overcome those limitations again, that we don't have to be comfortably numb.
Yeah, it's like being a dog on a tether. You know, if you're strapped to a pole and you have a 10-foot line and you just go around and around and around, and you're exploring and investigating the exact same area over and over and over again, and then you go, okay, so I wonder what's outside of this circle. But the thing that's on the perimeter of that circle, that boundary, that invisible boundary, is those self-limiting beliefs, which act as a self-fulfilling prophecy, where we say, oh, I don't think I can make more than $5,000 a month. And so I'm going to go try, but I don't really think it's going to happen. And of course, these are all subconscious narratives that play beneath the surface of our awareness. And when we step outside, those subconscious narratives are very much at play. We don't know it, but we are self-fulfilling that prophecy by maybe doing something that's not fully thought through, or that we're not fully invested in, or we self-sabotage in some ways. We don't set ourselves up for success. And so then, like you said, we come back into that circle. And yet, if you can, with this logosynthesis process, if you can help people dissolve those boundaries and there are no more self-fulfilling prophecies and limiting beliefs, then you can go out and have success. And you're no longer addicted to the comfort zone where your previous historical identity lives. But then you actually, at least in my experience, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but you start getting addicted to, oh, what else is out there? What else is out there? What else is out there? And you start getting super curious about, what else can I make happen? And I wonder, if I kind of lean into this, what's going to happen there? And the curiosity and the surprise and delight of what happens on the other side of you acting on that curiosity, that becomes the addiction, which helps you grow and lifts you up beyond those glass ceilings.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree. I love the way you put it. Yeah.
So one of the other things that you've mentioned is this process of co-creating. And I've heard
Mhm.
that word thrown around in the past, like co-creating. But you know,
Mhm.
I'm one of those people who's like probably obnoxiously independent, where I'm like, no, I'm not going to co anything. Like, this is mine. I'm going to create my world, you know? So talk to me, what does co-creating mean? And once you help people dissolve those limiting beliefs, how do you help them do that?
Okay, that's a very interesting question,
That's a big one,
Ray,
right?
because I really thought about this beforehand, and so there's just my version of it. And I don't know if this is the truth, but I am going to share my version of this co-creation thing. And I totally believe in a loving intelligence,
Mm,
an intelligent love that is bigger than me, that is in this quantum field of
mhm,
pure consciousness, which all sounds like big words, but there is something, there must be something. So, not in a maybe religious way, but
mhm,
there is something. And I feel like I can connect to this source, this higher self, this knowingness, this loving intelligence,
mhm,
and co create with this field that
mhm,
is meant for me, because this is um, my zone of genius. And this is what I'm here to do. That's my mission, that's my calling. And so that's the way I would put it.
So it's not,
Um,
when you say co-creating, you're not talking about you creating with your client. You're talking about helping your client connect to source, oneness, the quantum
yes,
field, and
right, right,
co-creating with that energy, which, by the way, I'm
right.
100% with you there. I am not at all religious. I consider my religion quantum physics and like the energetics of the universe. Like
Yay.
that's my religious belief. You know, that's what I, you know, daydream about, and like, you know, that's what I worship, or whatever you want to say.
Mhm.
That's where you do your devotion. And you're like, okay, I just want to connect to the
Yeah.
quantum field, connect to nothing, connect to everything. And so that co-creation, then I really love the way you put that, because that's not a codependent sort of relationship where
No.
your client is co-creating with you and somehow you become this, you know, guru or person who they need to have in their life in order to be successful. You are really empowering your clients to tap
Yeah.
into their bigger energy, their bigger impact, their bigger abilities than what they've ever thought was possible.
Yeah, because I think the solution is connecting with their compass from within,
Mm,
connecting with everything that is inside of them. They have this big knowingness, this source,
mhm,
that, yeah, that they might not be aware of. And I am just a facilitator or the muse or the impulse giver,
mm,
but they need to do it all by themselves. And so I can hand them tools, techniques, ways, my ideas. We could do human design, but
mhm,
not to define the person, not to narrow or label them. I have this word, I hate this when people say, you are this and that's why you can't do X, Y, and Z, and that's why you are great at this. I think this is just a little impulse, direction giver, something that they can tap into, but they are the creators and co-creators.
yeah. And I think that's the real key to unlocking all of this, because people tend to seek out coaches and mentors and consultants in order to say, hey, you, Patricia, you have all the answers. Can you give them to me? Give me all the answers. And that's really not the point. You never want someone to be codependent or reliant on you. Really, what you're trying to do is help them strip away those limitations and tap into their fullest abilities so that they can then design these businesses and lives that really bring them joy. And so, I think there's this huge myth in the entrepreneurial world that we have to hustle and we have to grind and we have to work long hours. What do you say to that myth?
So this is just part of my experience, of my bad experience with being an entrepreneur. And I just think about this old pattern that I repeated when being in the corporate and then when being an entrepreneur. And I totally disagree that we have to hustle. I think we need to live in alignment with our true nature, with our energetics, with our design. And everyone is different. So it feels like this leads me into talking a little bit about human design.
Mm-hmm.
There are different types, energetic types of people, and not everyone is designed to do the hard work and to really work without any pause and any time of relaxation. They'd soon burn out if they did this. And then there are the other ones who are here to manifest, to not ask anyone, but just to be the initiator of a new thing. And then there are those who need time to go into their cave and to withdraw so that they can come up with amazing ideas. And then they look for someone to do all the work. And then there are people to reflect what is going on around them. And so I think this is a good way of describing human design and demystifying human design. It is such a big help to get to know what working style fits you best.
Yeah.
What path is the one that feels most aligned with you and that is in alignment, that feels easy and healthy.
Yeah. And it's funny, in my business mentoring, I tend to work with a lot of projectors. And so the projectors, they do really well in these short bursts, like super focused, but short duration periods of work where they pour their energy into something for 2 to 4 hours and then they let it be. They leave it alone. They've delegated, they've set the ball in motion, and now they can walk away. And I think for people who are projectors and some other types of human design, that's a mindset shift, right? They have to get over that association of work with, I have to be at my desk from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yeah. But then there are the generators. And I feel like the generators are the ones that have the hardest time overcoming the societal prescription, because the societal prescription is very much in alignment with the natural generator way of being. I'm a generator, which means for anybody who's listening to this, and Patricia, fill in any blanks for me because you probably know way more about this than I do, but generators are the worker bees. We're the majority of the population, and we are the ones who are building. We are the builders. We are the ones who are doing, and we tend to do lots of long, extended work blocks. And so we can naturally and very easily fall into this hustle, grind, push kind of mentality of, I have to work from the crack of dawn until the time I lay my head down at night. So for people who naturally fall into that, and who I think are probably at huge risk of burnout, I know I've been there myself many times, what's your advice? What would you recommend for someone who is a generator and they're like, oh, well, I'm a generator, so I'm supposed to work all day, every day. Yeah. What do you say to them?
So first of all, I think there are many factors to look at if you want to talk about this burnout idea, because generators in general, they have a lot of power, but I totally see what you say. They are the ones who do the work, and they really do the hard work, and they don't stop because they feel I have such a great amount of power. The most important thing for a generator, I'd say, is that they work in a job that they really, really, really love. I can't stress this more. It needs to be something that they totally love, because when they decide on something that they don't like, then they might or would stay in this job for a very long time because they are very stable people that don't jump from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And then it even feels like still harder for them to feel fulfilled and happy in what they do, because they stick to this. And so I'd say pick a job and be in a job that really feels 100% something that makes you feel lit up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it's not just about understanding how you work best and then trying to somehow harness or leverage that energy in any situation. You also have to design the situations that you're putting yourself in to match well with who you are, what you're interested in, and how your energy works. So given that, and that's something that applies to everybody, not just generators. So for everybody, what would be your advice if they're listening to this and they're going, oh yeah, okay, I'm kind of starting to be aware of some of the limitations that I have, maybe some mindset issues, limiting beliefs. Maybe they're interested in the logosynthesis process, or maybe they just want to kind of get started and start setting themselves free from some of these old bonds. What do you recommend? Where should they get started?
So first of all, I'd say this is a great position to be on, this threshold of I want to change. When I'm open to change, this is the best position, because then you really can change. So the first thing I'd say is there is more for everyone, and there is more to tap into, there is more to discover. And I highly, highly recommend not staying comfortably numb, because I always have this picture of someone in their 80s looking back on their lives and then figuring out, oh my gosh, why did I do this? Why didn't I change? Why didn't I follow my intuition? Why didn't I tap into what is lying inside of me? There is all the truth. There was this signal, there was this impulse, but I just stayed numb. And now it is too late. So I think your listeners, they are not in their 80s. I guess they are much younger, and the time is now to really start doing the work so that they liberate themselves, that they reach their maximum potential, and there is always more. And I think it is really now that they should start, and not then when it is too late.
I love that you said that, because time is going to tick on anyway. I mean, we can go into a whole thing about time and quantum physics and all of that, but in this three-dimensional world that we tend to consume ourselves with, time is going to click on anyway. So you might as well start overcoming these things now, like literally now, like as soon as you stop listening to this episode, literally now, start making changes. Because otherwise, like you said, when you're 80 and you're looking back on your life, do you want to say, oh, I wasted 30 years or 40 years or 60 years? Shorten that wasted time and start setting yourself free so that you have even more time to enjoy the life that you're creating. And so if people wanted to get started with you and learn more about your work, where can they check you out?
So first of all, I have a website where they can get more information, which is www.patricialindner.com. And on my website, they can sign up for a free human design chart reading that is only 15 minutes, but it is totally beneficial for anyone who wants to really get to know their energetic blueprint and how they could use this for their business, for their work. And I'm always open to connection calls, to discovery calls, to people reach out to me. I'm a very open-minded, welcoming person. And so I would love to connect with anyone who is on the threshold of change.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for being here with us, Patricia. This is one of the most important discussions anyone can have with themselves is it time to change? And the answer is always yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray, for having me on your show. It was such a delight to have this deep and meaningful conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ray here again. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and rate us in your favorite podcasting platform. Want to be a guest on the show or know someone who has an amazing story of entrepreneurship? Apply on our website at chironconsulting.us/podcast.